discipline of this session forced me to commit to paper, so everyone will have that use. So my starting place is this. We really don't want to be this woman underneath the kid hunched over the laptop. We would love to see great, fabulous learning sessions. And we especially want to make sure that the learning that we do really wraps around the needs of our learners. So I'm hoping that we will get there with alacrity. I'm going to hand off now to Sophia, who has agendas, updates, timeline reminders for us. So Sophia, all yours. And I'll sit and listen in until you're done with your guidance for us.
Can you guys hear me okay? All right. Thank you, Alan. So I'm only going to take a few minutes up top. Obviously, the purpose of this session is to get you guys a little bit more comfortable with virtual learning and Zoom specifically. And I really want to thank Dr. Sellis for his help with this. This was one of those things sort of like we knew we needed to do. And I'm like, Dario, like, can you do this for us? So I just needed to take a few minutes up top just to sort of do some logistical administrative reminders. But obviously the bulk of this session is going to be sort of the technical training. So just some updates on where we are with Leader Curriculum Day next week. I've communicated a lot of this with your directors already, so you've probably heard this. I just wanted to make sure one more time that we were on the same page. So in terms of timeline, today, I think most of the content is pretty close to finished. I know that we have some exceptions, but the hope was today that we would have most of our pre-work and session materials in a pretty good place. I know primary and secondary are sort of gathering them in different ways, so definitely talk to your CID on how they want it presented. But what I wanted to share is the reason that we're asking for these in advance is because we want to make sure that if there is going to be pre-work, that we give the leaders ample time to complete it. And the venue that we've chosen to do this with is on Uplink. So if you look on the right, it's kind of small to see, but I just wanted to give you guys a preview of sort of what our Curriculum Day landing page is going to look like. Again, shout out to Araceli. She is working really, really closely with us on it, and I think that she's done a really nice job on making this look really professional. The hope is that these pages aren't just going to be for Leader Curriculum Day, but they're going to be sort of the pages that we come back to throughout the year, like for instructional labs, for example, so that this is truly going to be sort of our curriculum and instruction homepage. What you guys may not be aware of is sort of separate from this is that we've actually asked the leaders to sort of complete a sign up for Leader Curriculum Day as well. In both primary and secondary, we do have some sort of differentiated groups, whether it's new or returning leaders or whether it's by content that they coach. So we needed to gather that information. So in our sort of director emails, we sent out a survey to the campus leaders to ask them to fill out all this information for us, just to make sure that when it's time to start assigning people to the Zoom rooms next week, that we know that like we haven't missed anybody, that the people that should be attending the sessions are there. So the deadline for that is also today. I've heard from most campuses, we have a couple stragglers, but I gave myself a couple days to sort of track them down between tomorrow and Friday, because this Friday at 5/22, this is when we're going to sort of do sort of a global communications to leaders for Leader Curriculum Day. Think about this as sort of the leader version of like a collab day email, right? So we're going to do sort of a welcome message. We'll have the fully built out agendas to share. We're going to have sort of hopefully live links to the pre-work. And we're also going to go ahead and send placeholder invites on Outlook so they can actually have a schedule unique to them. So sort of based on sort of the signups, we will have, you know, close reading new leaders session, like we'll know exactly who those people are. So all of that is going to go out Friday afternoon. And for the purposes of Leader Curriculum Day, you'll learn later today in the tutorial how you can set up your Zoom meeting invites, but because we're on kind of a very tight timeline, I'll go ahead and own it for this time. And similarly with Uplink, because this is new to a lot of people, Araceli has really taken on like a huge load in terms of, you know, like, let me just sort of like set these pages up for you and upload it. Hopefully as the summer goes on, people get more comfortable with the technology and we can take more ownership of it. But for now, just to make sure everything runs really smoothly. Our Sally and I have just sort of blocked off time this week to get us where we need to go. So any questions about sort of what to expect over the next couple of days? Okay, Alan, if you can click to the next one. This is just, the next slide is just sort of reminders of what we need from you guys. Like I said, I think most of the session content has been developed already, but just a reminder, if you do make any updates to your sessions, please update that information in the spreadsheet. That's the Google Sheet that we created, because that is what Araceli and I are going to be using to sort of create the pages and the invites. Right now, there are still a few blanks that are missing. Usually it's pre-work. Usually it's somebody's collected, yes, this session has pre-work, we just don't know what it is. And then for a lot of our sessions, we don't currently have the actual link in the meeting number, which is okay, because we'll learn how to do that later today. But just a reminder that to keep that sheet up to date. When it comes to submitting documents, videos, whatever attachments that we're going to upload onto Uplink, we have sort of a standard naming convention. Again, the rationale behind this is we want this Uplink page to be what we come back to throughout the course of the year. So it'll be really helpful to our leaders to be able to readily find what document they're looking for and to know if it's been updated recently. The next bullet point, this is a really exciting one, and this is one that's still sort of like, the details are still being fleshed out, but I think there's a really good chance that we can sort of get premium Zoom accounts for everybody. I know everybody is using the current, like, you know, free 40-minute version. Hopefully it's like you're able to get those lifted, but I think if we know that this is something that we're going to be needing, like sort of over the long term, at least for the rest of the summer with teacher training, I think it's a worthwhile investment to just go ahead and make sure we have, you know, the tools that we need, because we don't know when Zoom is going to lift their, you know, educator waivers. Stay tuned on that. I don't have the details on that yet. We still have some sort of pricing to work out. And I actually don't know what it looks like to have like a basic account that gets upgraded if like sort of your member number changes or not. But again, we're going to send placeholders on Friday just to have for the meeting times Thursday and Friday. And that'll give us about another week to sort of update it with the actual physical links. And then the last one, and I'm sure that Alan will talk a little bit about that, is we're going to kind of give you guys sort of tools and walk through some sort of the steps to do some basic functionality with Zoom. But I know that people were really excited when we set this meeting up, because I know that people have varying levels of comfort with it. But, you know, you have a week. So between now and then, like, definitely practice, you know, whether you're having a check-in or whether you're scheduling a meeting with a teacher, like, try to use Zoom if that's not the platform that you're used to, and try to play with some of these functions that we're going to show you, just to make sure, again, that the first time that you're doing this is not going to be next Thursday or Friday. I'm reading through the chat right now just to see. Great. If there's any questions there, just pop it in the chat. I have, I think, one more slide, Alan. All right. So something that I wanted to share with you guys is when we send out the invites on Friday, you will have access to who are the people that'll be attending your session. I actually have my own sort of master list that you can kind of see. I've screenshot it here so we can actually see not just who the leadership team is, but who coaches what. I am not making this public yet because, again, this is very privileged information. I don't know if George is on this call, but like he shared like sort of the leader list with me and was like, please, Sophia, do not like broadcast this out there. So I'm going to ask you guys, like, professional courtesy. If you see somebody on here, like, please keep this information as confidential as possible. Like, even if it's like well-intentioned, like even if you want to congratulate somebody that you knew was applying or somebody that's got promoted, I'm going to ask you guys to wait until there is an official announcement from Yasmin or from Anne sort of announcing all of these leaders. So again, like, and once we get that announcement, I'll share this spreadsheet with you guys, because I think that it is really useful that we can use throughout the year. Like, I've collected information like who the IB coordinator is for the campus, who the interventionists are. So we'll have all of this that we can use on. I'm just going to ask you guys to please, 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 like, resist the urge to say anything until we have official announcements about who the leaders for next year are going to be. Okay, I'm going to check the chat again to see if there's any questions. Yes, so Sarah, like for Leader Curriculum Day, just because again we're on a shorter timeline, I think it just makes more sense. Like I will own the invites for this next round, and it will create, like again, it will create all sorts of calendar headaches for me, but I would rather have the headaches than to spread it across for however many people that we have.
Sophia, are we going to roll with that plan of putting up like one Google Doc, like giving people links to a Google Doc that you could?
I talked about it with George, Alan, and I just don't think that we can like ensure that that'll be ready in time.
Yeah, no worries, no problem. That sounds good.
So I just want to confirm, we are not going on Zoom and creating links that we then have to pop into your calendar invites.
You still have to create the links and then you pop them into the Google spreadsheet. I will create the Outlook invites and just copy and paste the link.
Okay, so what about the situation with the 40-minute limit that we all have?
So like Alan is going to show us how we can check on that, because we should, A, that limit should be lifted, and B, if we get the premium accounts, that'll be a non-issue anyway.
I'm going to hit that. I'm going to hit that question really soon, like really early on in the presentation. So, and Sophia, and like Sophia and I talked about it this morning about what stuff we want to be on the lookout for. Hold on that for a second, and you'll know really quickly if you have more than 40-minute access or not. Okay.
Yeah, like we went back and forth with this, and I talked to George as well, sort of like what is the easiest way to to figure it out. There's not a perfect way to do it, just sort of with the way that we have it set up. So like to clarify, we still need one like unique link per session room. It doesn't have to be per facilitator. I would actually recommend just sort of like one room per session. And if you populate that into the Google spreadsheet, then I can make sure that that link is live for the actual Leader Curriculum Day. Stephanie, I think because there are so many like simultaneous sessions going on, and because there's going to be mixed groupings, it will be really difficult to sort of have that. And again, like a Zoom account has to be tied to an email address. Like it'd be really complicated to have like a dummy address tied to it. Like there's the risk of passwords there. That was something that we talked about. We just couldn't figure out logistically how to do that. Any other sort of logistical questions? We will like show you how to check if you have that 40-minute limit or not. Uplift Education, the domain should be recognized. So we'll follow up on that. And then again, like if you're still having issues, just shoot a message to me and Alan and we can problem solve. I'm gonna pass it back to him then, and I'll just like keep monitoring the chat in case you guys have any other questions, but I definitely wanna save time for the actual sort of walkthrough of the technology.
Sophia, thank you very much. So as you're handing off back to me, can I hand the chat window, like monitoring the chat window, back off to you? Because I was keeping an eye on that while you were presenting. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, great. So let me come in, and like I said, we're gonna check out the time limits quickly. So I want to start by giving us a sense of what resources we're going to use. The first one you already saw. It's called Menti. And the next is Padlet, which many people have seen. We'll unmute and talk as needed. As I'm going through, feel free to put anything else that you want out in the chat window. Sophia will be hitting the brakes if we need to for any reason, if there's something that I miss. Last one, this is something I've adopted as a practice for all the online sessions. I've already mentioned that we're recording, but I also want to just call out that this is a workspace and a safe space. If you see someone here who doesn't belong in this session, please let Sophia or myself know that someone you don't recognize is here. If there's anything that's inappropriate or harassing that comes your way, please message that out. I'm going to give you my Google Voice number. If there's something that we don't know about that's in this session, please text over, and that person will be excluded from the session. So thanks so much on that. So let's start by taking a look. I'm going to switch the screens that I'm sharing to jump over to another display. And there. Do you guys see the results screen at this point? Not if you do. Okay, great. So here's our level set. So none to 1 or 2. It's if you add them together, we're about 70% of us who are just kind of starting, and then maybe a quarter who are off over in this zone. I think it's really interesting, that middle of having done several, like 3 or 4 of these sessions, that's the hurdle to get over. Like once you get over 3 or 4, you're good. You learn everything else. So I've been doing a huge number of these, and there's still things that I'm learning. So take a breath. Ask people to pause if you need. But I think we definitely have a real clear level set. The other thing that I thought was really interesting is everybody is in a growth mindset. So that one seems really clear. Like we're all saying, great, I have good skills, but I'm pushing to the top of my game. So great, I appreciate that. The one other thing, and this is really, really helpful for me, I'm going to allocate more time to the things that you guys have allocated higher priority to, right? We talk about differentiation and making the content be the learners. So okay, so you guys just determined what's going to get more time and less time, with only one exception, that thing, that number 6 place, scheduling and inviting to meetings. I'm going to spend a little extra time there just so that we don't fall into some pitfalls. So otherwise, I'm going to shift screens and pop in. Great. Okay. So you should, at this point, if I just do what I'm supposed to, you should have a white slide with best practices for distance learning in front of you. Got that? Okay, awesome, thanks. Okay, great. So before we jump in just to the Zoom skills, I want to talk very, very briefly about the kind of things that you're all educators, you're all instructional leaders. You know best practices of how to teach young and older people. Some of them are a little different, a little more nuanced for Zoom, so I'm just going to tap them briefly. So preparation, safety, and signposting. Those are the 3 I want you to think about. For preparation, if you're in the role of a presenter, think about like the kind of things you want in your environment to make it much more easy and less distracting for you so that you can lock in on content. So for example, interactive pages like that Menti poll that I did, like all kinds of tabs were loaded up so I could just click over to them. And the link any links that you're going to put into the chat box, like when I put my cell phone number in the chat box, that was sitting there on a little notepad. I just copied and pasted it, so I saved myself keystrokes. The one other thing, which blessedly, it's been a week of terror, like AT&T. But by the way, give me a wave. Has AT&T been randomly terrorizing anybody else on this call? No, I get these. Okay, Sarah and I maybe like we're cursed. That's it. We're cursed. I get this crazy thing, like boom, all of a sudden it just blows up. So you might want to at least consider some things as you're getting ready. Like, do you have a whole bunch of other devices? Are your neighbors using your internet? I don't know, but I do have a cell phone backup just in case my internet went down. Thank you, AT&T. Okay. So yeah, and then here's the back end view. So there's like all the stuff that I had just sort of sitting there, ready to go out. There are even some of those things sitting in my notes, and like you'll see in the bottom, it's all of my notes, all my presenter notes have little call outs with those web addresses. So I just left myself all kinds of places where I just could not get lost in losing links that I'd want to send out. So that just lets you not have to fumble for things. So, and internet we talked about. So preparation is one, and then safety and security is another. So safety and security, I've thought about a lot. We've seen people with just crazy stuff happen in their sessions. Zoom was not doing a good job with their security. They got slammed for that. So here are the things that I think help you make a safer session. Gate your session, meaning your session really should have a password, a unique ID and a password. We'll talk about that in a second. Don't use your personal meeting space. Definitely don't do that. And just like, and Thanks, Kim. And just and just like Sophia and I are doing, have a co-leader, because you should be able to stay focused on content, not all the other screens around. So it will help you make a more safe session. Also, if you have something going on and you need to slam on the brakes and get someone out quickly, having a co-leader be able to help you with that. Set norms about that space, about what's going on in your space. No one has ever questioned why I make the harassment announcement. I've never seen it as a problem in a session, but I really think it's good practice to reinforce what we want our culture to do. We have to speak it and live it. And the last one is, in addition to legal, it's courteous to tell people if you're recording, what's going on the screen. So I just think that's a nice courtesy of legal stuff aside. Okay, here's my last poll: either wave out or chat out. This only happened to me once, but I did actually display all of my entire personal email screen on a very large session, only once. I see a couple of smirks. Who else has done that? No? Okay. All right, good. So I'm the only person. The person leading the session is the only one who has totally screwed that up. Uplift, I'm sorry, but I have personal email on your laptop. I won't do it again. And the last is signposting. So, signposting should be simple and clear. When are we going to communicate and how? What tabs or screens should we have open? What time flows should we have? So I tried to do those in this session, again, just so that it remains predictable. And it's harder in digital space to guide people, because you just don't have that body language of someone giving you like the sour face, like they're not on the right page. So be thoughtful of the fact that you need to do a different kind of signposting than you already do in any session. So with that best practices stuff, they decide, here's the agenda that I set out. And like I said, I'm not gonna change it too much, but I'm gonna change the allocation of time. And I'm not gonna read the slide. You can see what's on the slide. So we'll take you through step by step. So I wanna start by account status. This is a good time to have a Zoom tab open and just log in. When you log in, you should land in your profile page. I'm gonna give you a second or two to get there, but I will keep moving through because we're gonna spend a couple seconds on this page. As you go down this profile page, you'll see further down the screen, you get to your user type. So I'm gonna swap over which screen I'm sharing. I wanna do this in real time. Basically, if you hover, hey there, there's a corner. If you hover here, you should be able to tell, like right on that question mark, you should tell Zoom has temporarily removed the 40-minute time limit, blah, 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 or not. That should be your guarantee that you either do or don't have access to that unlimited amount of time. So if I go into my account, you can see, let me blow up my page a little so you can see a little more clearly. Okay, so you should be on my web page, or you should be in my web browser right now. Are we good on that? Are you guys looking in on my account? Okay, great. Okay, so I did register with my uplift.org account. And when I go to check my user type, I'm a basic user, meaning I'm unpaid, but okay, there it is. So I know that I can go over that 40-minute limit. So right now is a good time to check that on your home account, hit your profile, check the user type, and confirm that you have that more than 40 minutes. Also keep in mind, it shouldn't be a problem for Leader Curriculum Day, but you only have a capacity of 100. If you do something that's a lot bigger, keep it in mind. If you do not have that message right here, that you have beyond the 40-minute limit, please say it so in the chat box. The recording feature keeps a record of the chat box. So if you just chat out that you have something different than this, that'll be all you need to do for Sophia and I to tap it. So I'm going to head back to the presentation screen and keep going forward. So once you've checked out the basic stuff of what kind of an account you have, as I said, Always schedule.
Alan,
Yeah, please. Go ahead.
can I ask a question, or would you rather I hold?
No, go ahead. I mean,
Okay.
if you know if it's relevant.
Okay, so I'm looking at this same screen as you, and under my personal meeting ID, or the one screen before, I guess, I have an ID for instant meetings.
Right. So the ID for instant meetings is the same as like your personal ID. Like that's a durable address. It's like your always on address. The reason you don't want to do that is like it's like giving out your home telephone number, your home address.
Okay.
So like if you create what we're going to do next is just to walk through creating meetings. That creates a unique meeting ID and unique password. And
Okay, thanks. I feel like my grandma trying to understand this.
Remember, okay, so guess what? So good differentiation practice, right? So according to the little poll that we took at the start, everybody's in the same spot with a lot of this stuff. And I just learned this a month and a half ago. Okay, so I'm not much further ahead. So everyone's good, and don't be embarrassed by the questions. Okay. Cool. All right. Thank you for asking, because you're not the only person on this call who had that question. So if you go through the meeting, if you click that schedule meeting box, you'll get pretty much what you would expect on a scheduled meeting. It will ask you to pick a topic. Here's a topic of your meeting, and you'll give it some description. You'll set time and stuff like that. Here's the important part. Please generate the meeting ID automatically. Don't use your personal meeting ID. Okay. But by generating it automatically, what you'll get is you'll get a custom address that'll be used once, and then it will be gone. And what we'll see in another slide over, you'll also get a password that's very easy to use. Now, some options to think about as you come in. Everybody should mute on entry. This only happened to me once, but I saw a session once where someone was like having a fight with his roommate while on a chat, and they didn't know they were unmuted. Yeah, it's like way TMI. So definitely mute people when you come in. For people who came into the session early, enabling the waiting room basically means that people can join and they just kind of are parked somewhere, which you can release. I like doing that. I use the waiting room because if people are in the session, in the waiting room, you can chat back and forth to them. So, like I started passing off links and addresses of stuff to go to, but they're not yet on the screen. So you can be doing any of your last minute stuff on screen, but people aren't there to be able to, see you getting your last minute stuff done. I hit the box for record the meeting automatically. You saw me fumbling for a second at the start of this session a couple minutes ago. I was looking for the hit record button. It wasn't there because it just started automatically. So those are choices. Decide what works for you, and choose what's good for your life, as they say. Now, here's the thing that we were talking about. Your meeting has an ID number, and your meeting has a password. If you go through this step and have it automatically generated, then you can see that, like right here, the number is embedded into the link, but all that gobbledygook at the end, that's an encrypted version of the password. So you won't need to share this out. All you need to do is give people that one link. So people you trust, give that one link and they can get in. I don't think we have to worry about, multiple layers of gating and things like that. Basically, no one in, I don't know, no one in some crazy, cult in Oregon is going to get this and pop in. But you have plenty of security just by doing this stuff, so that some random person just trolling random Zoom addresses can't pop into your session. That's pretty much all you need. Okay, and I know people are smirking at that, but it's been happening in crazy places. Okay, so once you do that, there's a really easy way to copy this. If you go to that copy invite, you'll get a window that pops out. It has all the details that you need. Click that little blue copy meeting invitation box, and you can just send it along. You can send invites in other ways. I think that it gives us more control just to copy the text and do what you want with it. as opposed to getting some, Microsoft ICS file. I don't give people things that they need to open. Like we send each other calendar invites all the time. So just put the text in there. Feels like the simplest way. If you find if you have something that works better for you, then definitely go for it and let me know. All right, so once.
Can I chime in real fast, Alan?
Go for it, yeah.
Yeah, so this is just to circle back because I know that there was some confusion earlier on. Hopefully this helps make a little bit more sense now that I can create like the Outlook calendar invites, but I cannot create the individual rooms for all of you. So that's why if you look on the spreadsheet, some of the facilitators have already done this. If you can just copy and paste like that information just straight into there, that way like when we have those calendar holds, we can just copy and paste the actual link. So the facilitators, each session group of facilitators needs to create a Zoom link with a meeting ID and a password using this process that we just walked through. What you don't need to do is forward it to the leaders because you won't know who they all are. Does that help clarify a little bit? Oh, and then Mimi, yeah, we do have an updated agenda that we can send out.
Thanks, Sophia. So yeah, so that makes it really clear. And start at slide 28. You guys have links to download the PowerPoint. Slide 28 if you want to go back, but I think people will be okay. So let me take you one step forward. Managing your session. Here's a suggestion for you. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the waiting room, but navigate to that little floating bar that you see at the bottom of the screen, and you'll be able to pull up any menus. The two kinds of windows that I've been using, this is a chat window, and this is the who's in the session manager. I'm going to suggest that people actually start sharing their screens early, and I'll show you why in a second. So, like I said, this will give you most everything you need. The only problem is this bar moves around. Like the commands become a little different when you start sharing your screen. It's the only thing that Zoom does that really, really just disappoints me. And it freaked me out actually the first time it happened because I didn't know where any of my menus were. So I would suggest starting your session while sharing your screen so that your menus stay in all the same places, and it will be less of a pain. Screen sharing people had fairly low interest in, and we do it all the time. So I'm just going to pop ahead and mention only one thing, unless people hit the brakes. We know that, this is my setup. I'm in front of a laptop and 2 monitors right now. So you got your choice between monitor 1, 2, 3. You'll see the numbers on your screen, yada, yada. One thing to know is that, all the floating windows, the slides that you're looking at on the screen right now are all covered by chat boxes and user management boxes and video screens. Anything that Zoom floats over the screen isn't visible when you screen share. Okay, so Mercedes is sitting right in the middle of the slides right now, but you can't see it because Zoom just kind of edits it out. So keep that in mind, and if you need to get a buddy and have them go on a laptop and let you do a test run, just know that you have that flexibility. One other thing to keep in mind, you have a lot of share options. So some of them, we'll talk about the whiteboard later. Remember that you can share just a specific app. I could just share Chrome, or I could just share, I could just share PowerPoint. You can choose, you have lots of different ways of doing it. Do what feels comfortable and what you can do without stressing is the biggest thing, especially if you're doing it the first time. If you're going to share a video, you have to do 2 things. You have to click this box and you go to share screen, because otherwise computer sound, the audio you have on your computer won't transfer over. And I'm not sure about this. I'd be really appreciative if somebody would shout this out for me. I think the sound share doesn't, sharing computer sound doesn't work when you're on multiple monitors. I don't know why, but if anybody knows that for sure, let me know. Or if that's a headache for anybody, consider being on a single screen. Okay. And I'm going to leave the rest of that behind. And the rest of this is just me wanting to show you how much of a pain it was when all the menus move around. So basically, after you start sharing your screen, you can hover over these bars, pop open your user management bar, pop open your chat windows. The nice thing about it is, in exchange for that pain and suffering, once you get these screens open, you can drag them anywhere you want on the screen, which like Teams doesn't do that. I find Teams to be annoying because they anchor the chat. You can't really, or at least I haven't found a way to move it around screens. Let me know if you somehow know to do that magic. Let's linger a while on breakout rooms, because that's where there's a lot of interest, and that seems to be the most interest. Okay, so for starters, first things first, when should you do breakout rooms in sessions? I actually am really interested in getting input from you all. I've seen sessions where they've been offered at the very, very start as like an icebreaker. I've also seen ones, Remy usually puts them at the end. I think that the breakouts that happen at the very end of a session work best, because you don't get whiplash, going back and forth, and like eventually the breakout room vanishes and people sort of float back into the session. So just a suggestion, because it impacts how you're going to present your material. If you want to do like some digital collaboration exercise, consider a Google Doc, consider a Padlet, consider something where you're just moving, or even just the chat, and I'll show you the whiteboard soon. So, okay, full confession. The first time I set up breakout rooms, it was very freaky. It felt like there were a lot of controls moving around. So practice it. You'll hit that breakout room bar, and then it'll ask you how many rooms to create. So for how many rooms to create, well, just make it easy on yourself. How many people do I want in a room? How many people do I have in this session? If I want there to be a maximum of 6 per room, I have 18 staff, then you need 3 rooms. And I haven't played with naming rooms or doing any things like that. Just find a way to do it simply. You do have an interesting choice here. You can either automatically assign people. So if you click that automatic button, then they'll just randomly sort through the names and toss people into rooms with no particular order. If you hit the manual button, then you can sort of float over each room. Now I logged on with another computer, so I kind of had myself. If I'm in this session right now and I enable the breakouts, I have a list of about 30 different boxes, and I can just go click, 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 for breakout room number, whatever. So boom, if I want to check that box, whatever boxes I want to check, I can assign or skip whoever I want, and then go to the next breakout room, and then go to the next breakout room. So that can be really helpful. Once you've done it once, then it feels pretty smooth. But doing it the first time is stressful, because it feels like there are just a lot of names to click if you have to get everyone in the right place. Aside from that, after you've done it once, it's going to be easy. So, questions, anybody? That was the number 1 on the list.
I have a question, Alan. I just want to make sure I'm clear about the functionality here. So when you decide the number of breakout rooms, do you then can it randomly assign people into these rooms, or do I have to drag and drop all 40 people into a room?
Okay, so it depends on what kind of experience you want to have. If you click that automatic button, then people will be randomly assigned. They'll just, like, whatever order the computer does it. If you have specific groupings, then yeah, you can click the manual. If you're working with smaller sessions, then it's actually easier to do that. If for really, really big groups, the easiest way to pre-assign is to actually get a spreadsheet of the usernames, get a spreadsheet of the usernames, you upload them in advance. So Zoom basically has a list that it's looking for, and then it assigns people based on the usernames or emails you give them. So you can totally do it. You can definitely, I think it does it based on email. So you can, if there's anyone who specifically wants to work that skill, I didn't want to take the whole group time, but I'm totally happy to do a one-on-one or a small group on that, okay? And Megan, thanks for tapping the question. Totally appreciate it. Okay.
So Alan, we actually have a couple more questions about the breakout rooms in the chat. And just about sort of the assigning, I can speak to that a little bit too, because like, it helps if you know who all of the people in your room are and how you want them grouped. It's something I would be very cautious of, because what happens every year is we are like, as far in advance as we're trying to get it organized, I know like in my heart of hearts, there's going to be like last minute additions on Wednesday night that, you know, somebody that literally just signed their offer letter the day before. So you don't want anybody that's sort of, you know, lost and doesn't have a partner. So the questions that we have, Alan, is sort of like, can we assign participants in the breakout rooms? Yes. If I know that some of the sessions are all leaders, that could get very unwieldy very quickly. So just sort of keep that in mind, that Remy has to like sort of hand assign people. So it's like you need to be able to do that quickly. That might be possible if you have multiple facilitators. The second question, Alan, is when you assign automatically, can you pull everyone back whole group, then send them back to that same breakout room later? And I don't know the answer to that.
Megan like wins. Okay, Megan, like the next round is on me for you. I actually don't know. I haven't tried that. So I can't answer that. What I can say is that for smaller groups, like if you're gonna do a group of 20 or less, thanks, Megan. If you're gonna do a group of 20 and say 25 or less, it's just a couple of clicks. Once you get over 30, then yeah, I mean, it's worth, you have to make a list, make a spreadsheet, upload the spreadsheet when you're doing the session. So I just didn't want to make, I didn't want to make this a whole conversation about like creating Excel spreadsheets in CSV format. It seemed like too much technical stuff. If you just want to get there and get the functionality. But once, again, if you've done it once, it'll be easy forever. So I'm curious. Oh yeah, that's a problem, right? So if you randomly assign, so you know, here's something interesting. If you, I'm pretty sure you can go into this. While you open the breakout rooms, what you can do is assign the facilitators to specific rooms, and once you've assigned the facilitators, then you can just randomly assign everybody else. Because that was the first time I did. I remember getting that menu choice. Okay, and Sophia. Let's clarify it like 100% that we can do that. Maybe we'll get a couple people just to do a test chat and assign now. But I'm pretty confident that once, even if you set them up to be manually assigned, you can then just click and have everybody else automatically, you know, randomly float into rooms. So that should take care of it. Sophia, will you hold me accountable to that and make sure I get a real 100% answer on that one?
Yeah. And I think that these are really good questions, because we have a couple questions about sessions that are going to have multiple facilitators. Mm-hmm. Usually, like pragmatically, it's very easy for us to like pass back and forth, like me and Alan right now, but you're going to have like one host who's got sort of that administrative access. And I think that it is a really good question that sort of the host can pop between breakout rooms. I don't know if a co-facilitator can have, like, if you can like share rights that way. I don't think that's possible, just based on how we've done it in the PLT meetings.
No, that's when we talked about this morning, or that was totally on the radar. For the basic subscription that we have right now, you can't have co-hosts. That's a webinar. That's either a paid feature or a webinar feature. It's one of those. So as the powers that be are making that decision, both logistically and budget-wise, like you can't co-host unless you're at some other subscription level. Like that one I'm pretty sure about.
Well, that makes a very compelling case. Then I'll pass that on.
Yeah. What's the timeline for that decision?
I don't have an answer for that.
Okay.
I mean, it'll be between now and next Thursday, right?
Okay. Like, yeah, I'm inclined to just see if I should just pay for a month out of pocket. Okay.
I'm going to hope you'd be reimbursed for a month out of pocket, but I also don't make that decision. So.
Oh, Alan. Okay. If you're gonna promise, thanks, Alan.
Okay, let me do this. I have a check-in tomorrow. Let me like put this top of the list, and then I'll send an update out to everybody by end of the week.
Hey, Stephanie. I have one for primary. I am open for anyone to use it. I just don't know if it would have the bandwidth, but I had to purchase one yesterday for something. So I already have one, so don't repurchase.
Okay. Thanks, Kenna.
Guys, I want to try. I'm going into. I just set up a little practice meeting, and let me just show you on screen like what's involved in setting up the breakout room. So I'm editing the session now. So right here, I can either, there you go. I can create rooms. Now, if I know who the participants are, I can start adding them in advance. So like that's an option. Now I have 3 breakout rooms that are pre-created, but the other option, and this is what I think is going to be more helpful. You see right here on the screen, the import from CSV. So somewhere I've downloaded this before. Let's use a phone. There's a template. You can download the template. I might as well just do it right now so you can see that it's not that hard. Here's the template that they ask you to use if you're going to pre-assign. So we've already created the rooms. We named them and created them, and it's pretty much email address. So it's just room and email address. The trick is if you're going to do that, download their template. And you need to make sure that when you save it, you need to save it as a CSV file, because the data pops over to the server. And let me go back. Okay, so just for starters, so the template's easy to get to. You can just save it and then upload it. So I think that's definitely doable. Right here, where you go to import rooms, there's that option, click to download the template. Let me go back so you can see how you actually get in there. Yeah, I'm gonna cancel my edits. Start editing the meeting. I'm gonna enable pre-assigned breakout room, and you see right there, the import from CSV. Okay, great, so that's it. And when you call that up, right here is where that link is to download the template. So if for any reason you can't get to it, just ping me with an email. Okay, and you'll be happy. It's pretty simple. They want to take our money, so they make it user friendly. That's such is the world. Okay, okay, great. So I'm gonna keep pushing forward. Then, are we good on breakout rooms? Because like I'm here for you guys. I'm over my time limit, which is bumming me out. Yeah, thanks, Sarah. Okay, great. So I'm gonna keep rolling. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on recording sessions except for one thing. There's a record button and then there's a stop button. Here's the deal though. The question with the thing that threw me for a loop first time I recorded a session was how in the world do you find your stuff after you've recorded it? Okay, so right now as the session is rolling, all the stuff is being recorded. It's being just sucked up onto my hard. Actually, no, it's a hard drive on their servers. I have no idea where they put it, but this is really important. The file is converted to some MP4 format, which is basically what YouTube runs on when you're done. When you end the session, if you are the facilitator, you will see this box that says, right, convert meeting to recording. So I think it can recover from that, but not a good idea to quit while that is still rolling, because the computer is basically chewing through, like there's a lot of data, so the computer saves it in an efficient format. You basically just want to let it do that. Okay, so after that's done, your little progress bar goes to 100. Okay, so like, hi, where's my stuff? So here's your stuff. Your stuff is going to be in the Zoom folder. Okay, well, awesome, great. Where's the Zoom folder? Zoom folder's here. If you go into your computer, into Documents. Under Documents, there's a folder for Zoom, and there you go. Now it'll be titled whatever you called the session. So the nice thing is you have a couple different files that are saved. So the audio only, I've never really used it, but remember when I asked people if you didn't have that, that upgraded account to like put something out in the chat window, all the chats are saved. So everything that people type is there. So like Sophia, so we don't need to be madly scrambling to see who doesn't have access. It's all, we just need to open it. That's really nice. The playback is just a technical file. You can ignore it, but that zoom_0, that is an MP4 file. You can just copy it to your desktop, upload it straight to YouTube. You can do whatever you need with it. Aaron can edit it. You can do all kinds of stuff with it. So once you know where to find it on the computer, it is really, really easy to work with. I suggest that you go and rename the folder to something that that you'll remember. Any questions on that?
So just an FYI, we have communicated that we will be recording the session, so don't forget to do it. I think that what we committed to was a week after the session was delivered, like a week after Leader Curriculum Day is when we would upload it all. And I think that by then we can work with Arceli to have sort of like what format we want it in and everything. So we'll be sure to send out the guidelines for like how to name it and things like that. Just for next week, just remember to press the record button.
Okay. All right. Great. Right, so the other one that people wanted to talk about was the whiteboard. I think that was the other popular item that people really flagged as high interest. And I just started working with it, but I love it. It can't do everything, but it can do some things really nicely. And I'm going to ask us to actually use it live in real time in a second. So, okay, if you go to share your screen, right? So you're hovering over that. One of the options that you'll get is to set up a whiteboard. Well, if you set up a whiteboard, I just started messing around with it. I'm going to do it in a second, and I'll ask people to pop in. From the user's view, like this is the leader view. So this is the one that I want you to pay the most attention to for starters. You're going to have to find the annotate, right? And like you'll float around the screen to that green bar at the top. It'll either be the top or the bottom, and pull up your annotate tools. Once you get your annotate tools, then you can drop text in, you can scribble, you can put hearts and emojis and change colors and erase stuff. So that part is really helpful. You have a choice of clearing everything on the screen or just spot erasing. So like here, I put up I Love Ice, Ice Cream Mondays at Pegasus. So here's the leader view. Or I'm sorry, here's the participant view. The participant view is this. The participants has to go hit this floating bar that says you're viewing whoever's screen, and then pull up your annotate tools. Now, I'm pretty sure to do this, here's an important note. You have to enable screen sharing for other participants. So like imagine you're in a session, you can share your screen outbound. You can set up Zoom so that participants can share back or not. I think to get annotate to work, and I'm sorry, it's there's a checkbox to enable annotation. So let that happen. Teachers found this out really quickly when they started doing Zoom sessions, and the kids started drawing graffiti all over their pages because they're kids and it's a fun thing to do. So teachers were the first people to figure out where that checkbox to enable participants to annotate or not. So let's actually do it. So I'm gonna switch my screen share right now to the whiteboard, and let's take a minute or two. We're at 3 o'clock right now. I don't have a lot more after this. Are we good for another 5-7 minutes, guys? Okay, no one's screaming at me, so I'll try not to abuse that privilege. So I'm gonna go back to my, thank you very much. I'm gonna go back to my screen sharing button. I'm gonna click on the whiteboard option, and here we go. And I have this awesome whiteboard. So you guys should see a big white space. Is that what do you have in front of you? Cool. Okay, great. All right, good. So I have always, let's take, yeah, and what color? We're feeling purple today. Okay. Now, would somebody please put lipstick on my little face, on my little smiley purple face? No one else is going to go for this? Check out the fun.
I don't see
Don't see
anything.
anything.
Yeah, I only see what I write.
Really, do you see a little purple guy with 2 eyes and a nose?
No, we
No.
see a blank white screen.
Really? Okay. Well, that sucks. Because
Now, we saw earlier where George was drawing, and I think I put mine on there on the prior screen.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. All right, guys. So, all right. Well, that would explain why I don't have any. That would explain why I don't have any lipstick on. Let me go back to town because the last time I tried it, I did a demo last night. My screen sharing. Oh wait, hold on. Screen sharing is paused. Okay, got it. Now do you see my guy? Okay, so here's what I did. Okay, so now would somebody put lipstick on my little purple face? Thank you. And the reason you didn't see it is I clicked. Aw, that's so cute. I clicked the whiteboard, but I didn't go back and click the OK button. So like just double clicking on the whiteboard wasn't enough to do it. So okay, so now I feel better. Okay, if somebody would give me eyebrows after that, and then I'm going to move on. Okay, eyebrows going once, not arrows, eyebrows. Bravo, nicely done, nicely done. Oh, the stars are great. Okay, cool. Thanks, guys. Nice.
I
Okay,
feel
great.
like maybe I shouldn't have learned about this feature. Too much fun.
Yeah, I feel like we've gotten a little bit squirrely. So,
Remember
Alan, maybe we can sort of wrap up and tell people where they can find like additional stuff.
Great. Okay, so and that's my last slide. So that'll be nice and quick and simple. Let me go back to screen 2. Okay, good. So are you back to a plain boring slide?
I think so.
Okay, great. So I'm going to wrap in 2 minutes. There's a big checklist. All the details that I talked about, I translated into a checklist of if you were planning a session and you had like 2 months in advance to plan everything, what would you plan and when would you do it? And when would you do it? I gave you that checklist. It's available via the link. And I'm going to do, just one thing. All of the resources, the checklist and links to the session are in a Padlet. I just sent you a link to the Padlet, so help yourself to it. Putting all the tools together, if this feels like a lot, I always suggest taking 1 or 2 new tools and just getting good with 1 or 2 new tools. Don't try and overdo. I would really appreciate feedback by way of this Padlet, the one that I just sent you. So kindly drop in responses, reactions, and critique of the session. What could have been different or better. And the last part is to say a really hefty thank you, Sophia. I appreciate your working with me on this. And really just thank you, awesome colleagues. Just thank you. You know, great talent here. And I appreciate you helping me figure out what I do and don't know. So I hope your sessions go well. I'm going to hang out for a couple minutes if anyone has spot questions, but otherwise have a great day.
Thanks, Ellen.
You're welcome.
Alan, this is Jeff. I do have a question for you.
Yeah.
If we want to embed a video into the Zoom or into the PowerPoint, I know in Teams you have to click a button that says share audio of this computer or something like that. Is there something specific you have to do in order to play the video?
Yeah, so like if you're gonna put a video in PowerPoint, let me go back to that screen share, and it's that.
I thought I saw a little bit, but I'm not sure I caught it fast enough to understand it.
Yeah, right. Hold on, not Breakout. It's sharing. Right. You see the slide right there? Share computer sound.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the trick. So you.
And where do you find that at?
Okay, great. So when you click on that screen share,
Actually share your screen. Okay.
right? So that'll pop out the dialog box. That'll let you choose. Like me, and I have a couple screens open. But even if you're just on a single laptop with a couple apps open, you know, like you'd have a choice. You'd have to choose something. So choose whatever you're gonna play the video on, and tag that box right there to share the computer audio. Does that help?
So the thought being that we would want to have it open already in the background, and then quickly share screen, click that, and then share there's not a way to, is there a way to do it through the PowerPoint so we don't have to come out of the PowerPoint when we're sharing that? Will it work like that, or?
Yeah, I think something that you can do if you want to, like if you're shifting over to what you're sharing, like I shifted screens a couple times during the presentation, and all I did was I went back to that green arrow. So like when I do that now, like in real time, what it does for me is it gives me an option to say, okay, here I'm hovering over it right now. If I click on that green arrow now, instead of saying share screen, it says new share. And so it pulls up all the other options, like all the other screens one more time. So it'll let you sort of jump from one screen into another. So a really easy way of doing that, like let's say you have that video just sitting on your laptop. Have it open in, you know, like whatever Microsoft app is going to play videos for you. So you can switch from sharing your whole screen to just sharing that one app. So like you could selectively turn on your device sound to be able to do that. So I'm not sure if it will cause interference if you share sound from your device through the whole session. I've heard sessions where people have kind of like reverberation, you know, like feedback. I'm not sure if that's where it comes from or not, but it makes me think that they didn't want to share like the noises that your laptop is making, like as people are talking inbound, for you to share that back over the chat and just get echoey.
Okay, no, that helps. That'll give us a place to start playing with it.
Yeah. So
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, and then just again, like if you as opposed to share screen, it's a new share. You just click that extra box to share the audio.
Okay.
It'll be good.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
No problem. No, my